just moving west to east there. We'll check that out on the satellite and upper air charts. I did want to point out a special thank you to Shirley Keast for the Patreon donation. And we do have regular Patreon donors who are contributing funds to help keep this live stream going. But we did receive a new one from Shirley Keast. That's actually our first one of the year. And it's very much appreciated. So thank you, Shirley. Let's head into our weather. And we can see we've got a major weather system out in the west. And out ahead of that, got this area of showers and a few weak thunderstorms there in the Salt Lake City valleys there. We can see the very warm air out ahead of it, and dew points are up to about 30 to 40, and that's really all we need to get some of that shower activity going. And then north of there, up in Idaho, 33 degrees there with some snow coming down in the Snake River Valley. Out in California, where we had temperatures in the 70s and 80s just a couple of days ago, it's fallen quite a bit into the 50s. It's a very dramatic cool down in that part of California, and the cold front is clearing much of the state there, about to make the move into Utah and Arizona there. And of course, in a couple of days, that's going to emerge on the other side of the Rocky Mountains, and we're going to be starting to look at some convective weather potential coming up this weekend. Already we've got a tiny bit of moisture squeaking northward. You can see all the way down here. We've got very stout southerly winds, but dew points are still on the low side. Some 30s starting to sneak up the I-35 corridor. So in about another day we should see that coming up into the 40s and 50s, maybe even a few 60s. All right, let's head into the rest of the charts here. There's the SPC analysis right there showing all the convective weather in the Salt Lake City area. And we'll take a look at the most unstable Cape. We're kind of closing out the late afternoon in that part of the country. And with very cold upper level conditions, we've managed to get some capes up to about 300 to 500 along the leading edge of the front in that region. So the top values I'm seeing are about 500, and that's going to be a threshold value for thunderstorms. Okay, we'll take a look at the thermal picture. Let's check that out there. There goes our old nor'easter heading way out to sea there. Cold air spilling in behind across the northeast U.S. into the Delmarva, Virginia, and North Carolina. But warm air advection is already starting in the high plains out in this area here. You can see those boxes that were forming between the isobars and the thickness contours. So those isobars and thickness contours, the squares that they form with this southerly flow in place, indicating very strong warm air advection starting to set up in that part of the country. And then further west we can see the cold front itself. I'm just taking a guess here. I'm thinking maybe, I'm kind of biased towards what WPC had on that first panel, so I think the fronts are perhaps looking something like that there. I don't see any boxes being formed out ahead of that, so that's telling me that probably the front is still in western Arizona. And then further up north we can see that outbreak of cold air coming in from the north. We were talking about that yesterday. The leading edge moving into the western Great Lakes. And this is a little bit of an Alberta clipper coming into the Chicago, Milwaukee, and Des Moines area. And probably have to put a warm front right there around Champaign and Carbondale, and that tracks northward as an included front, kind of like that there. So that's the next system coming into the Midwest, and that should bring a pretty strong cool down to the northeastern quarter of the country. All right, going into the other charts here, let's check out what we're expecting for the weather system as it comes out into the Central Plains. This is the NAM. This is how it looked earlier today. You can see the very strong southerly flow there. Temperatures coming up to 70 earlier this afternoon in areas like Ulysses, La Junta, Lamar, and when I used to brief the B-1 pilots, I used to work for the 96th OSS there and briefed the air crews going. They had a training route right around Lamar where they flew the B-1 bombers. They had a couple routes out in that area. So we had a couple route packages, one there, and the others were down in New Mexico. So every time I think of La Junta, I think of those flights into that area of Colorado. So we had to keep close tabs on the weather in that region. It's also very warm this time of year when we get this strong downslope flow. And indeed we do have that this afternoon. And tomorrow we're going to see more of that. This is tomorrow morning. And yeah, very strong warm up, some 80s in southwestern Kansas. And then we start seeing the wind start to back to the easterly direction as we get strong height falls and pressure falls out around Denver. So by tomorrow afternoon, we're looking at the strong baroclinic low around the Denver area. Also looks like a warm front along the Interstate 70 corridor out in this area here. And we've probably got the cold front starting to emerge from the eastern Rockies. So this is tomorrow night, and let's see how things are looking for Friday. You can see that system advancing into the lower plains. And then as we warm up during the day on Friday, looks like that low is tracking just north of Manhattan, northeast of Salina. And looks like a warm front coming up on Kansas City, so maybe a little bit of modest severe weather potential. I did look at the moisture, and dew point is going to be an issue out in this area. But otherwise, if we had a little bit more moisture, that would be a definite area to keep tabs on in that region. Cold front trailing in behind. We've probably got a dry line in there somewhere. So this is on Friday, and we can see the cold air coming in behind that system there. So that's kind of a sneak peek what we're looking at for the first part of the weekend. Okay, we did look at the drone footage showing the clear skies in our part of Texas. Let's look at the SKUTs. This is corresponding to that footage that we saw earlier at the start of the webcast, and it's showing a lot of dry air and a lot of warm air also. So a very classic maritime tropical air mass. Well, I would say probably a modified maritime tropical air mass. Obviously, there's not very much moisture. And then the very steep lapse rates there indicating some modification of the air mass going on. Very high tropopause indicating that we do have a tropical air mass in place. Okay, that brings us to the satellite data. There's a look at the satellite loop at this time. You can see those showers there in Utah, tracking northeast. And then back in this area, this looks like the cloud field associated with a subtropical jet in that region. All right, let me take a look at the chat, see how things are looking. We got Ron Chalfant there, 39 in the San Bernardino Mountains. Shirley Keys, 28 degrees in Minnesota, no snow yet. Funwood Tech. Ryan Toomies is here, Burrell H. Ryan reporting clear and cool in South Florida, back into the mid-50s tonight. Waiting for canceled flight operations to open up back from the northeast corridor. Mr. Manlett reporting 41 in Rockford. We got Carl Berghoff. I'm not sure if I mentioned Burrell H, but yeah, hello to Burrell H. Storm Spotter Apex, DFW, temperatures falling into the upper 50s tonight. Got David Holcomb there, and Megan John, 39 in Minnesota. Mild weather for sure, starting to feel like spring. And Justin Pulliam reporting audio issues. Let me take a look. Let me switch over to the mixer. Okay, yeah, I've got the mic cranked up here, but I'll just drag this panel out and let you see. Yeah, I've got the mic right about where it should be, but this does look a little bit low, and I think Windows has messed around with the levels. So let me check that out real quick. Going to see what kind of damage Windows did. All right, let's see what's going on here. Give me just a second. Looks like our yeah, what looks like has happened is it's picking me up, I think, through the. Hang on a second. Let me sort through this, figure out what happened here. Okay. Let me see if I can replug the microphone. Hang on a second. Okay, I think we're up and running. Okay, so what I should do is do a dry run before we do the webcast. And anyway, I think things are looking normal now. And let me deselect that other microphone because that's, I'm sure, causing some unwanted signals. And I think you guys were hearing me through this webcam, and we're just going to disable that. All right. Things are looking good at this point. So I didn't expect this to turn into a technical support thing, but that's how we work the audio panel and the audio devices. Basically, yeah, you're just looking at down on the bottom of the taskbar, you've got this speaker thing, and that's what I was opening up there, and I was getting into the audio devices, and I think they're looking good. All right, so let's keep going. Subtropical jet across Texas, and we probably got the polar front jet working on that area up in the northwest. So a lot of the fast cloud motion that we've got there in Utah, the strong south to north motion, that's going to be associated with that polar front jet in that region. So let's take a look at the upper air chart and see how things look. 250 millibar analysis looking like this. So here's the polar front jet coming on shore around Vandenberg, coming into Nevada. This is this morning. And then down to the south we see the polar front jet, or the subtropical jet, in the Four Corners going out into the Gulf Coast region. And let me see if I can bring up this evening's chart. Yeah, we don't have the 0Z analysis. Daylight savings time is kind of impacting that. It's only 16 after. It's only 1:16 there, so we don't have the full complement of 0Z charts like we normally do. So we're just using this morning's chart for that particular panel. And then we'll take a look at the moisture going out to 850 millibars. This morning showing the high pressure across Texas right there, but out in the Pecos River Valley and the Panhandle, we can see the south flow starting to develop, and we should see a lot more of that over the next couple of days as that gets established. Okay, we don't have really much weather going on besides that, so let's go ahead and take you into the forecast. And I figured we would look at the GFS for the Central Plains and watch things come together over the weekend. So there we go. There's our first low developing there around Denver. This is Thursday night going into Friday. And then we go into Friday and we can see that moving eastward. Warm front right in that region there. Cold front moving through Kansas. And that'll move eastward into Missouri. And then for Saturday, looks like a little bit of a break, but we see pressure falls starting to establish themselves once again in Colorado there. And then our next system comes out of the Rockies on Sunday. Okay, so the NAM doesn't quite go that far. We'll pick that up with the GFS right there. There we go. There's the 500 millibar panel. There's the first wave coming out of the Rockies on Friday. So pretty strong impact there in the Central Plains. The main thing that we're lacking is moisture in that region. In fact, let me just show you the moisture. There's the dew point. And here's Thursday, and then here's Friday. And we can see out ahead there's this little nose of 40s to around 50 dew points. The 60s are still well to the south, though, so that is going to be the main issue. And then the next wave gets established in Texas and Oklahoma for Sunday. And here's that next bit of moisture coming northward, 60s in the Red River region. And then the front comes out during the afternoon, and I think we're probably looking at some severe weather potential in northeast Texas, southeastern Oklahoma, pretty much east of I-35. And you can see that we've got dew points in the 60s all the way up to Tulsa, and a few upper 60s out in East Texas there. So I would probably be looking at some severe weather potential in that region right there. Everything moves eastward overnight. And then for Monday, looks like some severe weather potential starting to get going there in Alabama and Georgia. But that's quite a ways off. All right, let's check out the full GFS run. There's those height falls out in Colorado for Friday. System moves eastward. Try that again. There we go. Warm front, cold front down into Oklahoma. And then north of that, we've got that occluded front. And that'll move eastward and dissipate. And then for Sunday, here comes that next system. Height falls, pressure falls developing there in Colorado. And that system will be moving eastward towards Dallas and Oklahoma City during the evening. So that'll track eastward towards Maryland, New Jersey, and the northeast U.S. for Tuesday. So it looks like another storm system affecting that area. Meanwhile, on the west coast, we've got a new system coming onshore. And that'll cross the Rockies, looks like during the day on Thursday going into Friday. Looks very stormy back behind that system. So probably quite a bit of cold air, lots of troughing in that region. And we're starting to look at probably the Central Plains and Northern Plains being affected mostly by that system for Friday and Saturday. So there that goes from Nebraska to Iowa and Illinois. Meanwhile, up north, very strong occlusion, bringing some snow showers to Minnesota, Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Montana. And they've already gotten quite a bit of snow over the past month or two in that region, and I guess they're going to get more on top of that. Anyway, the rest of the front will come through on that following Sunday on the 25th. High pressure coming in behind that, and then looks like a couple waves moving on top of that with that southerly flow developing. And then the next front comes in for the weekend on the 30th and 31st. And that comes to the end of the GFS. That's probably about all I got for tonight. Let me take a look at the chat, see if the audio problems cleared up. Interesting voice. Like you inhaled sulfur hexafluoride. Yeah, like I said, I think you guys were hearing me through one of the webcams I've got set up about 4 feet away. However, I think we've got that... yeah, okay, I'm scrolling down. Everybody says the sound is cleared up. Mr. Manlett mentioning that slight risk on Friday for Arkansas, Missouri, and Louisiana. I think possibly on Sunday going into Monday we'll have probably a little bit better potential for severe weather. Red flag warning from Erica Baker mentioning southeast Kansas there. Yep, a lot of fire danger with the winds coming up. Lots of dry air in advance of that next system. And yeah, we will be looking at an active weather pattern this weekend, and I'm trying to get things geared up to where we can do a little bit of hand analysis, and I'll be using a camera and letting you guys check out some of that. Anyway, that's about all I got for this evening. I appreciate you watching, and hopefully we'll see you all tomorrow. Take care and have a good evening. Thanks.